A ring of gold flashes in the light, then falls. One crown after another leaves honored heads and strikes the pavement before the throne. No hand reaches to keep it. No elder hesitates as if surrender were a loss. In the center is not chaos, not Rome, not fear, not the empire that seemed to rule the world. In the center is a throne, and the one seated there does not rise in alarm. Around him sit 24 elders, already enthroned, already robed in white, already certain of who deserves glory. That image is where the question begins. Who are these elders? Not because John tells us their names. He does not. Not because Revelation gives a clean explanation in the next line. It does not. The question stays alive because the figures are so near to the throne and yet never become the point of the vision. They are visible, active, honored, and still somehow secondary. They belong to the scene, but the scene is not about them. That tension is exactly what has drawn readers back to them for centuries. The book of Revelation was born in a world where power knew how to dress itself. Rome built power in stone, stamped it on coins, marched it in armor, and announced it in temples. In the late 1st century, the churches of Asia Minor lived among altars, imperial images, and civic rituals that taught a simple lesson every day. Caesar reigns, the cities endure, and the gods of empire are close at hand. John writes from Patmos, an island exile, not from a palace. He writes to believers who know pressure, seduction, and fatigue. Some are facing open hostility, others are facing the slower danger of compromise. And into that world he is given a vision that does not begin on earth but above it. That matters. Revelation is not first a puzzle about timelines. It is first an act of unveiling. John is shown what ordinary sight cannot see. The churches know the noise of markets, courts, roads, tax systems, shrines, households, and threats. What they do not naturally see is the true center of things. So Revelation opens a door in heaven. This is also why the elders matter. In a human throne room, where someone sits tells you what kind of favor he has. In an ancient court, nearness to the ruler means trust, access, and delegated dignity. To sit rather than stand can itself suggest settled office. To wear a crown is to bear honor. To wear white is to appear approved, clean, victorious, or priestly. John sees all of that at once. The elders are not passing visitors. They are not frightened petitioners called in for a moment. They are placed, yet the text is careful. It gives description without full identification. This is common in apocalyptic writing. Visions often reveal by symbol as much as by direct statement. John is not composing a census of heaven. He is showing a reality dense with meaning. The throne room holds thunder and lightning, 7 torches burning before the throne, something like a sea of glass, 4 living creatures full of eyes, and songs that move like waves through the court. Everything in that room speaks. Everything points. The elders do too. There is a reason believers have sometimes wanted to settle the matter too quickly. If the elders are redeemed humans, they become a powerful image of promised victory. If they are angels, they become a witness to the ordered worship of heaven itself. If they represent all the people of God, then they gather Israel and the church into a single symbolic company around the throne. Each view sees something true in the text. But none can claim more certainty than Revelation allows. That restraint is not weakness. It is obedience to the kind of book this is. Revelation gives enough for worship, enough for hope, and enough for careful thought. It does not answer every curiosity. The elders belong to that pattern. They are shown clearly enough to teach us, but not so fully that we can pin them down without remainder. So the task is not to flatten the mystery. It is to walk into the vision as John received it with patience and reverence. We begin where he began. A door opened in heaven, a voice calling him upward, and beyond that door a world more solid than the one below. There, before judgments unfold and beasts rise and Babylon falls, before history reaches its terrible and holy conclusions, one truth stands already complete. The throne is occupied. Around it are 24 elders, and whatever else they are, They know exactly where glory belongs. Chapter 2, when John is taken in the Spirit and sees heaven opened, the first thing he notices is not a creature or an angelic messenger, but a throne set in heaven, with one seated on it. That order is not accidental. The vision does not begin with explanation. It begins with sovereignty. The one seated there is described by brilliance, by the gleam of precious stones, by light too alive for ordinary language. Around the throne is a rainbow like emerald. From the throne come flashes of lightning, rumblings, and peals of thunder. These are not decorative details. They recall Sinai, storm, covenant, divine presence, and the old biblical truth that the God of Israel is not a tribal deity among others. He is the Lord whose speech shakes worlds. Before the throne burn 7 torches, which John identifies as the 7 spirits of God. Before it, there is what looks like a sea of glass, like crystal. Around the throne and close to it are 4 living creatures, strange and watchful, full of eyes, each with its own form and each ceaseless in praise. This is not a calm museum of symbols. It is a living sanctuary, a royal court, and a cosmic center. It draws language from the temple, from prophetic visions, and from the deep store of Israel's worship. Isaiah saw the Lord high and lifted up, with seraphim crying holy. Ezekiel saw fiery creatures, wheels full of eyes, and the likeness of a throne above them. Revelation gathers such currents and lets them meet. Then John notices the elders. Around the central throne are 24 thrones, and seated on them are 24 elders, clothed in white garments, with golden crowns on their heads. The details are brief, but they are enough to establish the problem. Why thrones? Why elders? Why 24? Why white? Why crowns? John does not pause to explain because vision itself is the explanation in symbolic form. Still, the symbolism asks to be read with care. In the ancient world, thrones were not casual furniture. To sit on a throne was to be invested with rule or judgment. Yet these 24 thrones do not threaten the central throne. They surround it. They derive their significance from it. The elders do not share divine supremacy. They participate in an ordered court where authority is given, not possessed by right of nature. Their place says they are honored. Their posture says they are settled in office. Their actions will soon show that their authority is entirely responsive to the one at the center. John calls them elders. That word carries a long history. In Israel, elders were community leaders, household heads, tribal representatives, and men associated with counsel, memory, and public responsibility. In many settings, the elder was not simply old but recognized. Eldership meant dignity shaped by role. This does not prove these beings are human. Language can stretch in visions, but it does pull the imagination toward representation, counsel, and ordered authority rather than toward raw power. Their white garments deepen the picture. In Revelation, white is never empty color. White garments belong to purity, victory, faithfulness, and vindication. The faithful in Sardis are promised white clothing. The martyrs under the altar are given white robes. The great multitude stands in white, their robes washed in the blood of the Lamb. White is the color of those approved by God. It is also the color of heaven's brightness. That overlap is important. White may suggest redeemed humanity, but it does not belong only to humans. Heavenly messengers too can appear in radiant or white clothing. The symbol opens a direction without closing the case. And then there are the crowns. The term used is not the royal diadem worn as the sign of absolute kingship. It is the victor's crown, the wreath of reward and honor. In the Greek world, such crowns could be given to athletes, conquerors, and distinguished persons. In the New Testament, they become rich images for the reward of faithfulness, the crown of life, the crown of righteousness, the unfading crown of glory. When John sees golden crowns on the elders' heads, the impression is not that they rival God's kingship, but that they bear the signs of granted victory. The structure of the scene matters too. These elders are present before the seals are opened, before many earthly events of judgment unfold. For some readers, that timing suggests glorified believers already gathered in heaven. For others, it suggests a heavenly order whose existence does not depend on the sequence of end-time events. Revelation often moves by vision cycles rather than by simple chronology. The book can step back, repeat, intensify, and show the same conflict from different angles. So the presence of the elders here must be weighed, but not pressed beyond what the book itself permits. What is certain is that the elders are not idle figures. They respond to the worship of the living creatures. They fall before the one seated on the throne. They cast their crowns before him. They speak, they sing. Later they hold harps and golden bowls of incense, which are the prayers of the saints. One elder will speak to John and guide his understanding. Whatever their exact identity, they belong to the liturgy of heaven and to the communication of heaven's meaning. John sees them because the churches need to see them. Not to satisfy curiosity first, but to learn what authority looks like when it stands nearest to God. Chapter 3. The easiest mistake with the elders is to turn their description into a set of loose devotional images without hearing how weighty each one would have sounded in John's world. Thrones, white garments, crowns, each carried deep associations, and together they form a portrait that is both royal and priestly. Exalted and surrendered begin with the thrones. In a world of governors, client kings, magistrates, and imperial ceremony, a throne was a claim made visible. It marked a seat of judgment, a place from which decrees went out, a sign that someone's word had standing. Yet the elders' thrones are arranged around the central throne in a way that makes their meaning dependent. Their authority is not self-originating. They do not sit in a competing circle of powers. Their presence resembles what ancient courts often displayed: trusted attendants or co-rulers whose dignity is real but derivative. In the Old Testament, one can hear faint echoes of scenes where God is pictured surrounded by the host of heaven. The prophet Micaiah sees the Lord on his throne, with all the host of heaven standing beside him. Daniel sees thrones set in place, and the Ancient of Days taking his seat. Revelation is not merely copying those scenes, but it moves in their world. Divine kingship is not lonely abstraction. It has court, order, and witness. Now consider the white garments. White in Revelation is active meaning. It carries moral and eschatological force. The faithful conquerors in the churches receive white garments. The martyrs are given white robes. The armies of heaven wear fine linen, white and pure. White is what happens when earthly stain is overcome by heavenly vindication. It is purity, but not innocence untouched by conflict. It is purity through fidelity. That is why many interpreters have seen the elders as connected to redeemed humanity. If the churches are promised white garments and the elders are already clothed in white, is John seeing the church in representative form? The idea has force, but it must be handled carefully. The symbol of white clothing is shared across categories in apocalyptic language. It can signal heavenly splendor as well as redeemed victory. So white garments lean toward approval and holiness, but they do not settle the human or angelic debate on their own. They tell us the elders belong near God without shame. They have no need to hide. The crowns bring the issue into sharper focus. Revelation uses more than one kind of crown language, and the distinction matters. The elders wear stephanoi, victors' crowns, not the diadems that signal sovereign rule in a more absolute sense. That choice of image suggests honor bestowed after contest, reward after endurance, glory received rather than seized. In the letters to the churches, endurance is tied to such reward. The church in Smyrna is told to be faithful unto death and receive the crown of life. Paul speaks of the crown of righteousness laid up for him. Peter speaks of the unfading crown of glory. The elders' crowns fit this family of meaning. But the most important thing about the crowns is what the elders do with them. When the living creatures give glory and honor, and thanks to the one seated on the throne, the elders fall down, worship. and cast their crowns before him. This is not a small liturgical gesture. It is the scene's interpretation of authority. Any honor they bear is not denied, it is returned. Any victory they possess is acknowledged as gift. Any standing they enjoy is dependent on the one who sits at the center. In the Roman world, crowns, garlands, and honors could feed public competition and self-display. In heaven, glory moves in the opposite direction. It does not terminate in the honored creature. It flows back to God. That pattern helps explain why the elders have captured the Christian imagination so deeply. Even before we solve the question of who they are, we learn what they are like. They are close to power but emptied of rivalry. They are dignified but not defensive. They possess signs of victory, yet refuse possessiveness. They do not clutch at their status. They do not need their crowns when the Holy One is seen clearly. There is also a priestly note already emerging. White garments can recall priestly vestments. Crowns of a kind can accompany service before God. The entire scene has sanctuary language woven through it. Lamps burning, incense later appearing, hymns rising, holy acclamations moving through ordered ranks. The elders are not only courtly, they are liturgical. They reign by worshipping. They are enthroned, yet their deepest act is adoration. And that may be one of the reasons Revelation shows them so early. The churches of Asia Minor lived under authorities that demanded visible loyalty. Public life was full of signs of rank and honor. John does not answer that pressure with a theory. He answers it with a vision. Here is true authority. Here is a court not built by violence. Here are figures who have been honored without becoming proud. Here are crowns taken off freely, because the throne at the center is beyond challenge. Whether the elders are redeemed humans, heavenly representatives, or a symbolic order that gathers several truths together, their posture is already preaching. Near God, power kneels. Chapter 4, the number 24, may be the most discussed part of the whole vision, because Revelation uses numbers with care. 7, 12, 1,000, 10, 3.5, 144,000. These are not casual statistics. They are symbolic patterns, theological signals, and sometimes literary architecture. So when John sees exactly 24 elders, readers naturally ask why. One of the strongest lines of interpretation reaches back to the temple service organized in the time of David. 1 Chronicles 24 describes 24 divisions of priests appointed for rotational ministry in the sanctuary. The priests did not all serve at once. Their service was ordered, distributed, and regulated. Later chapters in Chronicles also describe musical divisions connected to temple worship. When Revelation shows elders with harps and golden bowls full of incense, which are the prayers of the saints, many readers hear a deliberate temple echo. The elders seem to stand in a heavenly liturgy that reflects, fulfills, or transcends the old sanctuary patterns. This is more than clever arithmetic. The temple was the symbolic center of Israel's world. It was the place of sacrifice, prayer, holiness, mediation, and divine presence. Incense rose there as part of worship, and in biblical poetry, incense could signify prayer rising before God. Psalm 141 gives that image plainly. Let my prayer be counted as incense before you. If the elders hold bowls of incense that are identified as the prayers of the saints, Revelation is not speaking in a vacuum. It is drawing temple worship upward into heaven and showing that the earthly pattern pointed to a deeper reality. In that reading, the elders are priestly representatives. They are not slaughtering sacrifices in the old way, because the Lamb who was slain stands at the center of Revelation's drama. But they do bear the liturgical marks of priestly service. White garments fit, harps fit the worshipping orders associated with temple praise, bowls of incense fit, their proximity to the throne fits. Even their age-bearing title, elders, does not fight the image. Temple and council, worship and order, priesthood and representation all meet naturally here. Still, the priestly reading does not answer everything. It explains the number well, but it does not tell us whether the elders are human beings, angelic beings, or symbolic figures shaped by priestly imagery. The temple itself had symbolic furniture, sculpted cherubim, lampstands, colors and measurements, all pointing beyond themselves. Revelation often takes earthly sacred forms and shows them in a heavenly key. So the priestly background is strong, but not conclusive. Another major interpretation sees the 24 as 12 plus 12, the 12 tribes of Israel, and the 12 apostles of the Lamb. That reading gains strength later in Revelation when the New Jerusalem appears with 12 gates named for the tribes, and 12 foundations named for the apostles. There the people of God are shown in fullness, not as separate destinies, but as one redeemed city, with both Old Covenant and Apostolic witness built into its very structure. If Revelation 21 can hold Israel and the Apostolic Church together in symbolic architecture, why could Revelation 4 not do something similar in symbolic persons? This has a certain biblical beauty. It honors continuity rather than rupture. God's purpose does not begin again from nothing in the New Testament. The covenant story runs from Abraham, through Israel's history, through exile and return, and then into the Messiah and the witness of the apostles. The people of God are not a scattered set of unrelated groups. They are one story under one Lord. On this reading, the 24 elders represent the fullness of the redeemed community across the whole sweep of salvation history. Yet again, care is needed. Revelation 4 itself never says, "These are the 12 tribes and the 12 apostles." The idea is a theological inference, not an explicit identification. It fits the book's symbolic habits, but it remains a reading rather than a statement of fact. It also raises questions. Why are they called elders rather than patriarchs and apostles? Why are they already enthroned before the later scenes unfold? Such questions do not destroy the view, but they remind us not to present it as certainty. There is a third possibility worth taking seriously. 24 may signal a heavenly council or order whose symbolic number draws on Israel's priestly and covenant patterns without being reducible to them. In other words, the number can be meaningful without requiring a one-to-one earthly identity. Revelation often works that way. A lampstand is a church. A beast is an empire. A woman is both city and covenant people in different scenes. Symbols in this book are thick, not thin. They gather associations rather than deliver only one answer. That may be why the number has endured as a fruitful mystery. It is precise enough to provoke thought, rich enough to invite scriptural echoes, and restrained enough to block dogmatism. 24 feels ordered, complete, representative, liturgical. It sounds like worship arranged for fullness. It looks like a court where nothing is accidental. And for the suffering churches who first heard Revelation read aloud, that in itself was comfort. Heaven was not improvised. Their prayers were not falling into empty air. The throne room had order, memory, and ministry already in place. Chapter 5. The strongest debate about the elders is not really about the number. It is about their nature. Are these enthroned figures glorified human beings? Are they a class of heavenly beings distinct from angels? Are they symbolic representatives who gather features of both? The biblical text leaves room for real arguments, and the arguments matter because each possibility highlights something important in the vision. Those who see the elders as redeemed humans begin with several features. The white garments match, promises given to conquering believers elsewhere in Revelation. The crowns resemble the rewards promised to the faithful. The title elder feels more natural for representative persons than for angels. And in Revelation 5, the elders sing about the Lamb's redemptive work in language that, in some manuscript traditions, sounds as if they include themselves among the redeemed. You purchased us, or you redeemed us. If that reading were certain, it would strongly favor a human identity. But the matter is not so simple. The wording of Revelation 5:9-10 varies in the manuscripts. Some of the earliest and most respected witnesses read not "You redeemed us," but something closer to "You purchased for God persons from every tribe and language and people and nation." In that case, the elders are singing about the redeemed rather than as the redeemed. That does not prove they are not human, but it weakens the argument that the text explicitly says they are. The human view also faces a timing question. If the elders are glorified believers, why are they already enthroned in heaven before many of the events of Revelation unfold? Some Christian traditions answer that by connecting the elders to the church, already caught up into God's presence. Others answer by pointing out that Revelation is not a straight timeline from beginning to end. John is moved through visionary scenes that recapitulate and interpret. The heavenly throne room may show theological reality rather than a stopwatch sequence. That response has merit, though it means the timing issue cannot be used as a simple proof either way. On the other side, those who see the elders as heavenly beings note that Revelation sometimes distinguishes elders from the redeemed multitudes and from angels without telling us the elders are identical with either. In Revelation 5:11, for instance, John sees and hears many angels around the throne and the living creatures and the elders. That verse clearly distinguishes the groups, but distinction does not answer the whole question. The elders are not simply angels in that line, but they are also not thereby proven to be human. They may be a separate heavenly order. This possibility gains support from the role some elders play in the book. In Revelation 7, one of the elders asks John a question about the great multitude in white robes, and then interprets the answer for him. That resembles the function of angelic interpreters in books like Daniel and Zechariah, where a heavenly guide helps a prophet understand a vision. It would not be impossible for a glorified human representative to do this, but the role feels at home in the world of celestial mediation. There are also older biblical hints, though none is decisive by itself. The Old Testament sometimes speaks of a heavenly council, of sons of God, of hosts surrounding the Lord, of divine throne scenes with attendant beings. Isaiah 24 speaks of the Lord reigning in glory before his elders, though the exact meaning there is debated. Jewish apocalyptic literature outside the Bible also knows complex heavenly hierarchies and enthroned beings. John writes within a world where such imagery is available, though he reshapes it decisively around the God of Israel and the Lamb. And yet the heavenly being view must still reckon with the elders' clothing, crowns, and language of worship. These fit redeemed humanity so well that many readers feel it would be strange if no human reference were intended. That is why some interpreters adopt a mediating position. The elders are heavenly representatives of the people of God. They may be celestial figures who stand for redeemed humanity in the divine court, much as priests or tribal heads can represent a people. On this reading, the elders do not need to be literally the patriarchs or apostles, nor merely generic angels. They are representative throne figures whose identity is bound up with God's covenant people. That reading has the advantage of honoring Revelation's symbolic method. The elders can be real figures in the vision and also representative in meaning. Their crowns can signify the victory promised to the saints. Their priestly actions can signify the worship and prayers of God's people. Their number can evoke covenant fullness. Their presence near the throne can express heaven's recognition of the redeemed community. All of that can happen without forcing the text into a level of precision it never gives. So where does that leave us? With humility, which is where Revelation often leaves careful readers. The elders are not vague, but they are not fully decoded. John shows us enough to know their dignity, their function, and their posture. He does not show us enough to cancel all debate. That may be intentional. In the throne room, identity serves worship, not the other way around. The elders are not there to attract endless fascination to themselves. They are there to model how honor behaves when it reaches the presence of God. Chapter 6, the identity of the elders, becomes more vivid when the Lamb appears. Revelation 5 shifts the scene from the throne alone to the crisis of the sealed scroll. In the right hand of the one seated on the throne is a scroll written within and on the back, sealed with 7 seals. A mighty angel asks who is worthy to open it and break its seals. No one in heaven or on earth or under the earth is able to open it or even look into it. John begins to weep. The drama here is not theatrical excess. It is the ache of history without resolution, the burden of God's purposes hidden and unfulfilled, the sense that judgment and redemption remain sealed. Then one of the elders speaks. This is important, not an anonymous sound, not the living creatures, not first an angel, but one elder tells John not to weep, because the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has conquered and can open the scroll. That one sentence is full of Israel's hope. Judah recalls kingship. David recalls covenant promise. Root recalls both source and continuation, the ancient line still alive. The elder knows how to name the Messiah in terms the Hebrew scriptures have prepared. Yet when John turns, he does not see a lion in the expected form. He sees a lamb standing, as though slain. That reversal is at the heart of Revelation. The conquering lion is known through the slain lamb. Victory comes through sacrifice. Power is unveiled in obedience unto death. The throne room does not erase force, it redefines it. And the elders understand this at once. When the Lamb takes the scroll, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fall down before him. Now the elders are each holding a harp and golden bowls full of incense, which John tells us are the prayers of the saints. Here their priestly character comes into sharp focus. Harps suggest ordered praise. Incense signifies the prayers rising before God. The suffering churches on earth, small and pressured, are suddenly linked to the throne room through these bowls. Their prayers are not forgotten words. They are gathered, held, and brought into heaven's liturgy. This is one of the most pastorally powerful images in the book. In the Roman world, the weak often vanished from notice. A widow's plea, a prisoner's cry, a church's hidden tears could pass beneath the machinery of empire without effect. Revelation says that is not how reality works. The prayers of the saints reach the throne. The elders hold them in golden bowls. What earth treats as frail, heaven treats as precious. The song that follows deepens the mystery of who the elders are, because the song celebrates the Lamb's worthiness on the basis of his death. He was slain, and by his blood he purchased people for God from every tribe and language and people and nation. He made them a kingdom and priests to serve our God, and they shall reign on the earth. If the elders are themselves redeemed humans, the song is naturally their own testimony. If they are heavenly representatives, then they are still fitting singers, because heaven itself recognizes what the Lamb has done for humanity. In either case, their worship is Christ-centered to the core. That centrality matters more than many readers first notice. The elders do not merely worship the Creator in Revelation 4 and then step aside. They worship the Lamb in Revelation 5 with the same gravity and reverence. The movement from "Worthy are you, our Lord and God," to receive glory and honor and power, to "Worthy is the Lamb who was slain," is not a shift away from God but the unveiling of the Lamb's place within God's saving rule. The elders' worship becomes a theological witness. Whoever they are, they know that the death of the Lamb is the key to history. This also helps explain why later Christian reflection has often seen the elders as embodying the church's calling. The people of God are made a kingdom and priests. The elders are enthroned and priestly. The people of God are promised white garments and crowns. The elders wear white garments and crowns. The people of God are called to conquer through faithfulness. The elders display victory without arrogance. Even if the elders are not simply identical with the church, they resonate with the church's destiny in a profound way. Their role in the throne room also answers a temptation present in every age, the temptation to separate worship from history. Revelation refuses that separation. The opening of the scroll concerns the unfolding of God's purposes in the world. Empires, judgments, martyrs, beasts, plagues, and new creation all stand downstream from this moment. Yet the key act that makes the scroll openable is the Lamb's sacrificial victory. And the response of the elders is worship. In other words, worship in Revelation is not escape from reality. It is recognition of reality at its deepest level. So the elders in chapter 5 are not passive ornaments to a cosmic spectacle. They interpret the Messiah, handle the prayers of the saints, and join in the song that explains history. They know who can open what no one else can open. They know that the answer to John's tears is not force alone, but the Lamb who was slain. Their thrones, robes, crowns, harp, bowls, and songs all now converge around one truth. Heaven understands that redemption is the axis on which the future turns. Chapter 7. The elders do not vanish after the throne room scenes. They return at crucial moments, and each return helps define their role. In Revelation 7, after the sealing of God's servants and the appearance of a great multitude from every nation, tribe, people, and language standing before the throne in white robes, one of the elders addresses John. He asks, "Who are these, clothed in white robes, and from where have they come?" John, recognizing his own limits, answers that the elder knows. The elder then explains that these are the ones coming out of the great tribulation, who have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. This exchange is striking for several reasons. First, the elder functions as interpreter, much like heavenly guides in earlier apocalyptic visions. Second, the elder speaks with authority about the destiny of the faithful. Third, he helps connect the symbol of white robes worn by the multitude with the cleansing power of the Lamb's blood. If earlier readers saw white robes on the elders and wondered whether that implied redeemed humanity, here the book complicates and enriches the question. The same symbol belongs both to the enthroned elders and to the suffering multitude. That could suggest kinship. It could also suggest that the elders, whatever they are, stand in a court whose holiness and victory the saints are joining. Later, in Revelation 11, after the seventh trumpet sounds and the kingdom of the world is declared to have become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Christ, the 24 elders fall on their faces and worship God. They give thanks because he has taken his great power and begun to reign. This scene shows again that the elders appear at moments when heaven interprets history. They are not mere spectators of judgment. They are liturgical witnesses to the meaning of judgment. When the world shifts under the force of God's reign, they respond with worship, thanksgiving, and recognition. They appear again in Revelation 19, when the fall of Babylon and the final praise of God's justice fill heaven. The 24 elders and the 4 living creatures fall down and worship God who is seated on the throne, saying, "Amen, Hallelujah." The pattern is consistent. The elders are placed near the throne, respond at major turning points, and direct all attention back to God and the Lamb. Their function is doxological and interpretive. They mark the true meaning of events as they unfold. This recurring role also tells us something about what Revelation is trying to do for its first hearers. The churches of Asia Minor are not given the book to satisfy curiosity about heavenly furniture. They are given it to teach them how to read their world. Rome may celebrate itself as eternal. Local elites may demand conformity. Trade guilds may pressure believers into compromise. Synagogues, courts, households, and city cults may all become sites of tension. Revelation answers that pressure by teaching the churches to hear history from above. The elders help perform that lesson. They are heaven's agreement with God's rule. There is also a social and spiritual contrast at work. Earthly courts reward flattery, ambition, and fear. Heavenly worship in Revelation has no trace of envy. The elders do not compete with one another. They do not argue over rank. They do not guard their crowns as private property. They do not speak to increase themselves. Even when an elder addresses John, it is to direct him toward understanding, not toward fascination with the elder. The whole court is ordered away from self-display and toward truth. That contrast would have been powerful for early Christians living under imperial spectacle. Rome knew how to stage magnificence. Processions, banquets, public sacrifices, and civic honors all taught people where status was located. Revelation does not deny splendor. In some ways, it outshines Rome completely. There are thrones, crowns, hymns, incense, declarations, and public acts of reverence. But the logic of the scene is entirely different. In heaven, honor is secure enough to be given away. Authority is meaningful because it is submitted. Worship is not a tool of propaganda, but the creature's fitting response to reality. This is why debates about the elders should never become detached from the elders' behavior. However we resolve the question of identity, the book spends more time showing what they do than telling us what they are in categorical terms. They worship, they interpret, they handle the prayers of the saints, they acknowledge the Creator, they praise the Lamb, they affirm God's reign at decisive moments. These actions are not background movement. They are revelation in enacted form. And here the elders begin to speak to every later generation as well, not by inviting us into reckless speculation, but by exposing our assumptions about power. We live, as the churches did, among claims that appear solid. Institutions tell us what matters. Public life rewards performance, self-assertion, and the careful protection of image. Revelation lifts the curtain and shows a different center. Around that center sit figures who are honored and unthreatened, crowned and unclinging, authoritative and adoring. Whatever else the elders are, they reveal a kingdom in which glory is safest when it is laid down before God. Chapter 8. By the time the vision of the elders has unfolded across Revelation, the sharpest question is no longer simply who they are. It is why John was shown them at all. Their presence in the throne room is theological instruction given in symbolic form, and the lesson is especially clear when read against the world that first received the book. The churches addressed in Revelation lived under pressure that was spiritual, social, and sometimes violently political. Some believers faced slander, exclusion, economic cost, or imprisonment. Others lived in prosperous cities where compromise could feel more tempting than fear. The cult of empire was not always experienced as a soldier at the door. Just as often it came as atmosphere, festivals, guild meals, public honors, civic pride, and the ordinary expectation that everyone would know who truly ruled the world. In that environment, it was easy to believe that history was driven from below by force, wealth, and patronage. John's vision answers that lie by relocation. He does not begin with Caesar's throne, but with God's. He does not show heaven scrambling to respond to earth's chaos. He shows heaven already ordered before the seals are opened. The elders are part of that order. They are calm. They are seated. They are not panicking over events that terrify the earth. Their stillness is not indifference. It is confidence in a throne that does not shake. This is one reason the image of the crowns matters so much. In every age, people hold crowns of one kind or another, not always literal ones, of course. The crown may be status, moral pride, suffering turned into identity, spiritual reputation, control over a household, influence over others, or even the cherished sense that one's own wounds give a right to stand apart. Revelation does not despise honor, responsibility, or victory. The elders really are crowned, but it does show what sanctified honor does when it reaches the presence of God. It is offered back, not because it was false, but because it was never ultimate. The same is true of the prayers in the golden bowls. The saints are not told that their prayers vanish into mystery. They are shown those prayers in heaven's hands. This does not answer every question about delay or suffering. Revelation never becomes sentimental about history. The martyrs still cry out. Judgments still fall. Evil still wounds before it is finally overthrown. But the elders' bowls tell the churches that heaven has not lost their words. The throne room knows their cries better than the empire knows their names. The Lamb remains the center of this lesson. The elders do not teach the churches to endure by admiring heavenly order alone. They teach endurance by locating all meaning in the one who conquered through being slain. This is where the vision resists both despair and triumphalism. It resists despair because the Lamb has already won. It resists triumphalism because he won by sacrifice, not by the methods of the beast. The elders understand this perfectly. Their worship is full of majesty, but none of it smells of domination. They know the difference between divine glory and imperial glory. That difference still matters, because Revelation is not only about the end of history, it is about how believers live inside history before the end arrives. To see the elders rightly is to be taught a form of spiritual realism. There is a throne above every throne. There is worship deeper than propaganda. There is honor that does not need to cling to itself. There are prayers that are not wasted. There is a Lamb whose wounds define victory. And there are servants of God near the throne who know that all created dignity finds its completion in adoration. So the final answer to the question of the elders must remain modest. They are real figures in John's vision. They are enthroned around God's throne. They wear white garments and golden crowns. They fall down in worship. They cast their crowns before the throne. They hold harps and bowls of incense that are the prayers of the saints. At times they interpret the vision for John. They appear again and again at moments when heaven confirms the justice and sovereignty of God. Beyond that, Scripture does not identify them by personal name or settle every debate about their exact category. That is not a failure of revelation. It is part of its wisdom. The book gives enough certainty to direct worship, enough mystery to restrain arrogance, and enough imagery to sustain hope. The 24 elders stand at that intersection. They remind us that the deepest reality in the universe is not confusion but ordered praise, not abandoned suffering but remembered prayer, not naked power but holy sovereignty, not the beast's violence but the Lamb's worthiness. And perhaps that is why the vision remains so compelling. We come asking who the elders are, and the throne room slowly teaches us a better question. What do those nearest to God do with their glory? They do not hoard it. They lay it down. They do not redirect attention to themselves. They point to the Creator and to the Lamb. They do not make worship smaller by explaining everything. They make worship deeper by standing inside mystery without fear. In the end, the elders are less a puzzle to be mastered than a witness to be heard. Around the throne of God, all true authority bows. All true purity is received. All true victory is returned in gratitude. And over the whole scene, louder than speculation, stronger than empire, steadier than judgment itself, rises the confession that finally explains the vision. Worthy is the Lord God Almighty, and worthy is the Lamb who was slain.